What's up, Joey?
Hey, Joey Magidson, Awards Radar. I'm going to try not to cry, even though I know you're the crier of the group.
I
Uh,
am. I am the big crybaby, which I brought to bear in this movie.
I
I was
know.
tired of people making fun of me online going, he always cries. I was like, I'll show you.
Yeah. No, listen, I cried in the movie, but
Good.
my favorite thing when I tell people about what I do is, and I've told you this before, like I cover the awards race. Like, what's going to win the Oscars? And they go, oh, who's your favorite filmmaker? And I go, Kevin Smith, and they immediately stare at me.
Yes.
But I mean, listen, how many people have a Red State shirt?
Look at that, man. That's true. I never see those. That is deep cuts right there.
I got a Tusk. I don't want to die in Canada.
Whoa, man. I don't want to die in Canada shirt. Very deep
I mean,
cuts.
the boys got my Jay and Silent Bob one. I wore long sleeves in the summer like a true idiot. And
Fantastic.
The OG Fat Man.
Oh my God, that was with one of the birthday shirts.
Yeah.
They've been around. That's you got some shit that not everyone gets. Well done.
I get more out of your movies than a lot of people get, so it makes sense. I gotta say, having the song from Tusk in this one, such a beautiful moment.
Wasn't it great? Like I love how Tusk closes.
Yeah.
With Gerard Way does a very haunting cover of Oh Wally Wally. But Tusk being what it is, I always felt bad that a song that beautiful ends a movie that fucked up, that like not a lot of people will engage with. Not a lot of people will make it to that song.
That's true.
They'll get out of the movie early, they'll cut and run. So when I was putting the montage together for Clerks III, I remembered that song and I was like, let me see if that would pan out. And I pulled it off the internet and laid it under the montage, and it was like, it just started falling in all the right places. And there was a certain symmetry to Gerard's voice opening the movie and then also kind of closing it as well that seemed to make sense. But good eye. Well done, man.
Between that and the I'm from New Jersey song, like that is the underrated thing I think that not enough people talk about with you is your music cues are always very much on point. And even if someone isn't responding to the movie, and like we can be honest, it happens. The music does.
Yeah.
The music is always on point. I point to like Chasing Amy was the first time I saw a movie where they didn't get together at the end. Like it was a whole like that can happen in a movie.
Right. You're like, where's the happy ending, man?
Yeah. I mean, wait, the song is kind of about like a threesome. Like the movie was, you start to like piece things together that you didn't realize. I'm just the movie, I'm just trying not to cry. No, the movie is just it's so beautiful. And those moments I think are such a great elevation of what is already a strong scene. But I think a different filmmaker, you can say better, you can say worse, would have done a different thing. They would have just had music, they would have gotten silent. There's something about that song fitting a mood, and then the I'm from New Jersey song just so clearly fitting the not resignation, but just this is what life is. People
It is so I've been trying to use that John Gorka song in a movie for years. Like it's such a great ode to the Garden State. And they first used it, I heard it years ago, in a Jeff Goldblum movie with Rory Cochrane called Fathers and Sons.
Yeah.
And fell in love with it way back then. Tried to put it in Jersey Girl, couldn't make that work. So, there's a part of me there's a part of me that wanted to end this one, of course, with a Soul Asylum song, because Clerks and Clerks II ended that way. But that John Gorka song is so powerful that I was like, come on, this is the moment. This is the moment.
Well, that speaks to, I think, like knowing, okay, I want the symmetry. And I mean, even this movie has plot points you didn't use in the first movie. So like I thought as soon as it ended, I went, you've been trying to do that for a long time. And I don't know how people are going to feel about it, but I know it must make you happy.
And it does. I was denied as a storyteller for decades on one of these points. And it was always inevitable that we would get there. But it hopefully, like the first time around, if we had done it, it would have been cheap. Hopefully this time it comes with value.
Yeah. Oh no, I think the first time it would have felt like he's trying to do something. And I think the thing about Clerks is no one ever said that. Like, I don't know what he's trying to do because I'd never seen it before. It's like every movie made after Clerks, every movie made after, Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. Who's trying to do Tarantino? Who's trying to do Kevin Smith? You don't ever, it's never a compliment, even if it's kind of meant like Bullet Train just came out. People like it. Like, oh, it's a good Tarantino ripoff. Like, what's to be told they made a good ripoff? Like, that's not fun.
That's what I was aiming for with Clerks 3. I was like, I want to make a good Clerks ripoff. Let me see if I could do it. And I had the benefit of like telling making of Clerks stories for like 30 years to audiences and knowing what works. And then the last few years telling the heart attack story. So I knew that shit worked. I was able to cherry pick and put stuff out there that like really give the movie a skeleton. Like, you know, it's a big thing about with me, authenticity, and Clerks is dripping with it.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's so earnest and so authentic. And I'll never be able to pull that off again, you know, because the magic trick's over. You've met me, you know my shtick. And I don't live in that world anymore. A guy made Clerks, like literally worked at that store. So like, I don't get to put that authenticity in a movie. If I was going to make a true Clerks sequel, I would find that guy on TikTok who does the IKEA videos where he's got the mustache and like he pretends to be a customer bitching, and then he moves the camera close to his face, dramatic music kicks in, and he bitches at the customer. Like that to me is a person who's in the trenches and understands retail. I couldn't do that version of the movie anymore. I don't work in retail. I own a retail establishment and shit. What I could bring to it though, authentically, was the heart attacks. That did happen to me, and the movie. I did make one of those. And I think that's what boosts the movie up, gives it its structure, so to speak. It's based on real. If we could get away with based on a true story, we should have done it.
No, it comes back to what you always said. Like, I need $7 million in Ben Affleck to tell this very important story. And from this to Yoga Hosers, they all do feel like I need to make it because no one else will. And that's, you can feel that. So I know there's a million more of these to go. This took 15 years to happen. So trust me, I relished every moment. And just to wrap up, I was actually at the one in Jersey. I sat behind your mom.
You went to the screen. Was the one that was slightly out of sync the whole time?
Yeah, I was the one who asked you about what happens at the end to the film, and you said, "Oh, I'm thinking about saying what happens." And lo and behold, there's the voice of Smod at the end.
That is one of my favorite things that I got to add, and it came and we were doing the mix, and they were they mixed the last reel, and I was like, what song are, you know, we had one more piece of Jim music, the Jim Venable music that went all the way to the end. And I was like, Jim, can you clear out and just give me like a few minutes? I think I'd like to take the stage. And that was something I first did in Tusk. Like in the credits, we just started playing the audio from the podcast. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like one more place to stick my voice. And it gave me this opportunity to like kind of, you know, the whole movie, a good filmmaker. Like this is so weird. I was just at a wedding this weekend where I ran into David Fincher of all people. And I'd never met Fincher before. So I was like, that's what you look like. And I told him, I was like, I talk about you all the time, man. I said, number one, I'm a fan. I think you're a genius. But number two, I always refer to you as a real filmmaker because you can make a movie and put it out there and you don't say shit. Like the movie speaks for itself. I'm the other guy. Once the movie's over, I come out and be like, hold on, let me tell you the story of how this all happened. And this little beat at the end of the movie gave me a chance to do that, even if I'm not in the room. Like on the convenience store, I can come out and say all those things if I want to. But like for the rest of the movie's life, when people watch it on home video, it was a nice way to be like, in case you didn't understand what this movie was all about,
I'm here.
Let me just tell you, and I get to talk at the same time. I was glad that that was a last minute addition, man. But you're right, it probably has its origins, and like you asking about it.
Amazing. All this for me just saying your mom was very nice.
She was a sweet lady. She cried watching that movie. I talked to her after watching it, and I was like, "What are you crying about, Mom?" And she was like, "You know, when he pulls up in the beginning of the movie, she's like, I used to do that with you. I used to drive you to that store and drop you off to go to work." So she's like, it's not just your life, it's my life, which is a running theme in the movie. Like Randall's always like, it's my life. And everyone's like, it's my life too.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much. This is
absolute pleasure, man. Thanks for wearing a Red State shirt too. That rocks.
Just wait until I write about this. Just
See you later.